it was like a shock. It was an out-of-body experience. It was just like almost paralyzing for me. Hey y'all, hey, it's Khameleon K, and on this channel I help single moms own it all. Their time, their life, and their finances through entrepreneurship and bossing up in every category of life overall. So if that sounds like your type of vibe, then don't forget to subscribe, and welcome to the fam, Khameleon. Okay, so today I'm talking about if I knew then what I know now as a single mom. If I did it all over again, or had to do it all over again with the knowledge I have today, what I would have done differently either beforehand or after I became a single mom. So let's go ahead and get into it. I would have hired a nanny or an au pair. The reason that I would have done that is when I found out from other people how much it was to hire a nanny or an au pair, or even to have a live-in nanny, it just would have made more sense. I did have an extra bedroom, and it was before my daughter was here, so for the most part my son was the one who went to daycare. And if I did it over, I definitely would. Even today, if I decided to have another child, a nanny would be the option that I would go after. It just makes more sense financially, and your child gets one-on-one attention, and it's a lot more value in my opinion. So yeah, that would be one of the things that I would have done differently. All right, so the next one is I would have dated better quality men. Okay, so the fact that I'm a single mother in the first place, yeah. And the fact that I do everything alone, it's not like I have help or they're hands-on. Like, they pretty much help with daily tasks or even weekend tasks for that matter. No, it's not like that. Like, I pretty much do everything. So I would have not went so much after looks, and I would have went for a better quality man. I met both of my kids' dads. Both of them I met under the age of 21. So let's just put it like this. If I knew then what I know now, I would have never. Okay, like I would have done that differently. I would know more about the red flags to look for. I would have known more about just the qualities, and I think I would have looked more at the family structure as far as how they were treated growing up. I think that kind of had a role in why they are the way they are. I just think that family plays a big role in how a child is, brought up to be as an adult. And if I would have paid more attention to that, even that alone, just that one thing, I feel like I would have made a better choice in the quality of man that I dealt with back then. My next one is I wouldn't have splurged so mindlessly. So when my son was born, it was my first kid. I was excited. I just wanted to, I don't know, I had this vision. I was young, and I would buy him all this unnecessary stuff. I bought him unnecessary designer things, all the latest like name brand stuff he only wore once, and some of which he never even got to wear. Because we all know kids and babies grow, they one size 1 week, and then the next week they're another size, literally. Just frivolous, like things that just didn't make sense. I just wasted so much money doing that when it could have been going to things that I think about now. That was one thing that I definitely would have done differently. I wouldn't have felt like a failure due to someone else's actions. I went through like times where I felt like a failure because I was the only one in my kids' head, or because of things that were quite frankly out of my control, things that I had no control. I can't control another person. So there were times that I felt like a failure when I was the one actually succeeding, with motherhood or parenthood in general, whereas the other parent was in fact the failure, not me. I often felt like I kind of slighted my kids because they don't have the family that I guess society sees as whole. But my kids are just fine. They have me. I was never a failure. I am enough, and it is just that. Period. Period. The next one is I would have become an entrepreneur sooner. With my son, and I always refer back to my son because by the time my daughter came along, a lot of this stuff was in play or in place or in motion to be in place. You know, your first kid is always your first experience. So that's why I always refer back to him. But I'll just say this. With my first child, it was kind of like a wake-up call. Once I had him, I felt like, Dick, I don't want to leave him. You know, I don't want to leave him in daycare. I don't, you know, want to be away from him. I want to be there to see, you know, everything. I want to be there for his milestones. I don't want to miss a word, like, you know, anything. And I didn't really come to that realization until after he was here, and or once I had him. And entrepreneurship gave me that freedom. Now, it took me a while, because in order to become an entrepreneur and what I wanted to do in entrepreneurship, what was required of me was I had to buy a house in order to have the specific business that I was starting. So I had a whole process. I had to buy the house first and then become an entrepreneur. Although I knew I wanted to buy a house at 18, I didn't really get serious about it until after he came along, which would it have been the case if I took it seriously sooner. And that's why I just wanted to be there for everything, and entrepreneurship allowed me to do that. And since I'm on the subject of entrepreneurship, just real quick, I have a link below for something that I have coming up. If you're interested in becoming a service-based entrepreneur and you are a single mom, then go ahead and sign up for the wait list, so that when it does go live or when it does drop, you'll be the first to be notified. The next one is I would have put myself in a better financial position earlier in life. I would have been investing and things like that on my behalf sooner, so that money could have accumulated earlier in life. I want to say I didn't start that until about 6 years ago. So, but had I done it sooner, then of course I would have had more. Now it has to be a little bit more aggressive, because I'm trying to achieve long-term wealth and investments and etc. and things like that. But had I done it sooner, I wouldn't have to work so hard. So that's one of the things that I would have done had I been aware earlier. I also would have invested on my kids' behalf sooner. I didn't start digging into this, like I said, until some years ago. In my business, I would have paid my kids so that they can invest in their own, you know, retirement funds or for things for their futures. My kids are now asking me about investments, and after digging and things like that, they can have their own, you know, stock and investments or whatever I decide to invest in for them, or whatever they decide they want to invest in, because I do take their opinions into consideration, and because I did put them in a class to learn those things. But if I had known sooner, then I would have been investing on their behalf early in their lives, or even maybe as a baby. But you live and you learn, and that's why I'm doing this video today, so you can do that. The next one is I would have taken my kids out of public school sooner, or would have never put them in public school at all. My reason behind this is my son, he's homeschooled. He was having a lot of issues. I was getting phone calls every day. If it wasn't him, it was another kid. It just was a lot. It was just always something. Not only that, he struggled with some things academically, and I chose to unschool him. Unschooling him has been the better option for him. I do not regret it. As far as my daughter, she is in private school, and that was the best route for her. I catered to my kids' learning styles instead of just going with whatever, you know, was convenient for me. I paid attention to them, what was making them click and what wasn't, things like that. You know, you just know your child. And so that's why they are both in, you know, two totally separate directions, but none of those directions are public school. Public school to me is like, let's just put it like this. I can't speak on all public schools, but I'll say that there are things that aren't taught, meaning life skills, lifelong lessons, and other things that either you can teach in a homeschool either curriculum or unschool through life skills, or you could put them in private school and learn a whole lot more, or just pay for separate classes and put your kids in things that you want them to learn and build on that. So I just felt like that was the best path for me and my family. I've been going in this direction for going on 5 years now, so I'm happy I made the choice. My kids are thriving with the changes that I made, so I just kind of chose a different path than what I was raised around. The next one is I would have been more organized, or at least tried to have been more organized. We all know how chaotic it can get. Household, dealing with everything with the kids, staying on top of appointments, you running them here, you running them there, you got to stay on top of extracurricular activities. If you're homeschooling, you got to stay on top of their education, if that's the way you go. Unschooling is a little easier, but even with that, you want to stay on top of skill set. Being a single mom is a lot of work. Being a single parent is a lot of work. Like, everything is on you. So I actually created a system for myself to be able to do all of those things and not feel overwhelmed while doing them. So yeah, I just wish I was more organized sooner, but I wasn't prepared. Like, we kind of just go with the flow, and whatever happens happens. You roll with the punches, like, you know. But as time went on, I learned, I adapted, and I got it together. The next one is I wouldn't have given up on my dream. Before I found out I was pregnant, I was into singing and performing and things like that, and I loved performing. I think I loved performing more than anything else. Like, I sung because I wanted to perform, you know. I sung and I danced and things like that. I had started to get into the shows. I had started to actually meet people in the industry and everything. And when I found out I was pregnant, I just kind of shut down. I was scared. I didn't know, you know, what to expect. It was kind of almost like a out of body experience for me. It was like a shock. It was an out of body experience. It was just like almost paralyzing for me. And it was just, I was going through, once I found out like I was pregnant, I was just going through so much surrounding that pregnancy. Not only that, just everything that went down with my son's father. I am in the process of writing a book, so, you know, all of that will kind of be, you know, in the book. But it was just, let's just say, like, it was a lot, okay? It was a whole lot, and it kind of like traumatized me to an extent at the time. But yeah, I kind of like stopped like all my dreams and things that I was pursuing. It kind of stopped. Like, I stopped. It was like an automatic like switch that was like a mature, grow up. It's like, it was like a grow up moment. It's time to get serious. It's time to get real. It's like no more fun, no more chasing your dreams, no more this, that, and the other than if it was for my kids. So it was just like everything was about them, and everything was no longer about me. Nothing was about me. Like, and it shouldn't be that way. I know that now, and I'm pursuing it now in other ways, but I just wish I hadn't done that, because I didn't let it stop anything else. That one thing, I just let it stop that, and I just wish I hadn't. If I did it all over again, like what Beyonce say? Like Beyonce said, strong enough to bear the children, they get back to business, right? Like, I'd carried it more like that, but I was just so like in a different headspace then. But yeah, I would have done it differently if I had it to do over. And the next one is I would have gotten married first. Now that one it's not that guarantees anything, because my mom was married and then she was a single mother. So I don't necessarily feel like marriage creates this magical thing where you aren't a single mom, but it would have showed a little bit more commitment on my kids' dad's behalf had I gotten that first. Whoever I ended up having kids with, like, you know, it would have just been a lot easier, I feel like, for me, at least. I mean, not to say it would have been easier. The chances just would have been better that I'd have had a better father for my kids. So Yeah, nothing is guaranteed because somebody could always, you know, they can die, y'all can divorce, like you could still end up a single mom. I get it. However, I just feel like I just would have had a better chance or a better shot at a better father for my kids. And that's it, y'all.
Don't let me catch you with your hands up. Don't let me catch you with your guard down. Now you got no cards left in your deck. Now you got no sense left in your head. So if I catch you when it's dark out, I better see you